The cold open, steel, frost and fear at 27,000 feet, October 14, 1943. 10,002 am, 27,000 feet above Schweinfurt, Germany. The sun is blinding at this altitude, not warm, blinding. A white, merciless glare bouncing off aluminum skin and plexiglass windows, reflecting straight into exhausted eyes that haven't slept properly in days. Inside B-17F Royal Flush, the temperature is minus 40 degrees Celsius. Your breath turns to frost the moment it leaves your mouth. The engines scream, not a smooth roar, but a violent, rattling thunder that vibrates through bone, teeth, and skull. Every man on board feels it. No one talks unless they have to. Their oxygen masks hiss softly, an artificial breathing that never quite feels natural. Pilot, Captain John A. Morgan, grips the yoke with gloved hands already stiff from cold. The gloves are thick, but the metal controls leach heat relentlessly. His fingers ache, not pain yet, but the warning before it. Beside him, co-pilot Lieutenant Fern Hoyt scans the instruments again, and again, and again. They've been airborne for hours. They are deep inside Germany now. Below them, factories, rail lines, barracks. Ahead of them, Flak. The intercom crackles. Bombardier to pilot, target in sight. Morgan doesn't respond immediately. He swallows. His throat is dry. He knows what comes next, because this is Schweinfurt. And Schweinfurt is a killing ground. The B-17 Flying Fortress looks invincible from the ground. 4 engines, 10 machine guns, thick aluminum skin. From propaganda posters, it's a flying castle, steady, unstoppable, American steel in the sky. But from inside, it's a pressurized coffin that isn't pressurized at all. At 27,000 feet, there is no room for error. A torn oxygen hose means unconsciousness in seconds. A single piece of flak through the cockpit can end everything instantly. And the aircraft itself offers no insulation, no comfort, no mercy. You can almost feel it, the cold seeping through boots, through flight suits, into marrow. The waist gunners stamp their feet, trying to keep circulation alive. Their breath fogs the air around them, forming tiny ice crystals that drift and vanish. The metal floor beneath them is slick with frost, oil and sometimes blood, dried from early emissions, never fully scrubbed away. Because there's never time. Bandits. 12 o'clock high. The call slams through the intercom. Everyone snaps to attention. Outside, against the blinding sun, black specks appear. Growing. Fast. Messerschmitt Bf-199s, Focke-Wulf 199s, German fighters, veteran pilots, men who have done this dozens of times and know exactly where to aim. Tail gunner Sergeant Maynard, Snuffy Smith, swings his twin 50s, tracking the movement with numb fingers. His gloves are stiff with ice and sweat. The guns feel heavier than they should. Here they come. The first pass is head-on, always the worst. The German fighters roar straight toward the nose of the bomber, closing at a combined speed of nearly 600 miles per hour. For a split second, you can see the pilot's face in the enemy cockpit. Goggles, scarf, eyes locked forward. Then the sky explodes. Tracer rounds streak past the nose, red and white lines ripping through the air. Plexiglass shatters. The bombardier flinches as fragments tear past his face. Jesus! The bombardier flinches as fragments tear past his face. Jesus! The B-17 shudders as rounds slam into the fuselage. The sound isn't one noise, it's many. A tearing scream of metal, sharp cracks, a deep, hollow thud when something vital is hit. Morgan fights the instinct to jerk the controls. Formation is life. Break formation, and you die alone. Hold it, another pass, this time from below. The belly of the aircraft is vulnerable. Ball turret gunner Staff Sergeant Alan Magee curls inside his glass sphere, knees pressed to chest, rotating the turret as fast as the frozen hydraulics allow. He fires. The guns chatter violently, shaking the turret. Shell casings cascade around him, clinking like metallic rain. The smell of cordite fills the cramped space, sharp, choking. Then, a flash, A concussion. The turret lurches violently. Margie screams as something slams into the turret frame. For a terrifying moment, he thinks he's been hit. He pats himself frantically. Chest, legs, arms. No blood. But the turret won't rotate anymore. He's stuck, upside down. At 27,000 feet, above them, flak blooms like black flowers. Anti-aircraft shells detonate at precisely calculated altitudes, filling the sky with jagged steel fragments moving faster than sound. You don't hear flak coming. You hear it after it explodes, a sharp crack that punches the air out of your lungs. One burst rocks the left wing. Engine 3's hit. Oil pressure drops instantly. Smoke trails behind the aircraft, black against white cloud. Flight engineer Sergeant Richard Mayfield scrambles to the panel, hands moving fast despite the cold. He tries to feather the prop. The engine screams, then sputters, dead. 3 engines left. The Fortress can fly on 3, but not comfortably, and not forever. Someone is praying quietly over the intercom. No one tells him to stop. The bombardier lies flat against the Norden bomb site, adjusting dials with trembling hands, sweat beads on his forehead despite the cold. This moment, the bomb run, is the most dangerous part of the mission, because during the run, the bomber flies straight, predictable, exposed. The Germans know this. Flak intensifies. The sky becomes a wall of explosions. Metal fragments tear through the fuselage. A waist gunner cries out as shrapnel rips through his leg. Blood sprays. Instantly dark, instantly freezing. The radio operator drags him down, fumbling with a tourniquet that feels stiff as cardboard. Medic, we need. There is no medic. There is only whoever is closest. Bombs away. The aircraft jolts upward as thousands of pounds of explosives drop free. The Fortress suddenly feels lighter, almost buoyant. For a split second there is relief. Then a shell detonates directly beneath the cockpit. The blast punches upward. The floor disappears. Alan McGee's ball turret is torn completely from the aircraft. The turret, with McGee still inside, plunges into open sky. Inside the bomber, there is a stunned silence. Someone screams his name. Someone else vomits. Morgan doesn't look back. He can't. If he does, he might lose control, might lose everything. Get us out of here. The formation turns west. But the damage is catastrophic. Another fighter pass rips through the nose. The co-pilot slumps forward, blood spreading across his chest. Morgan shouts his name, shakes him. No response. The oxygen system is compromised. The cockpit fills with thin, dizzying air. Morgan's vision blurs at the edges. Hypoxia. He fights it. He has to. Below him Germany stretches endlessly, hostile, unforgiving, and Royal Flush is falling behind. A lone bomber is a dead bomber. The fighters circle again. Like sharks. The tail gunner fires until his guns jam, frozen solid. He pounds on the receiver, fingers numb, panic rising. Guns are out! Guns are out! ABF-19 slides in from the rear, cannons flashing. Rounds chew through the tail section. Control cables snap. The Fortress lurches violently. Controls are mushy. Morgan fights the yoke, muscle screaming. The aircraft responds sluggishly, like it's flying through syrup. Another engine coughs, then dies. 2 engines. Smoke fills the cockpit. Fire warning lights flicker. Someone yells that the wing is burning. The fire extinguisher barely works in the thin air. Flames lick backward hungrily. Morgan makes the call. Prepare to bail out. Those words hit harder than flak. Because bailing out over Germany doesn't mean safety. It means capture. Or worse, the men scramble for parachutes. Movements clumsy, panicked. The wounded waist gunner can't stand. 2 crewmen drag him toward the radio room, toward the hatch. The aircraft shudders again, too violently. The right wing begins to shear. Metal screams. The Fortress breaks apart. For a moment, there is weightlessness, then chaos. Men are thrown into open sky. Cold slams into them like a wall. The noise, engines, wind, explosions vanishes, replaced by an eerie, rushing silence. Parachutes snap open, white canopies blossom against blue sky. Below them, the German countryside waits. And far beneath that, something else waits too. Because surviving the aircraft is only the beginning. And for B-17 crews, the real horrors often didn't start in the air. They started on the ground. The descent, capture, crowds, and the thin line between life and death. The wind roars past your ears as the parachute carries you down. It's quieter than the bomber. Too quiet. Your boots dangle uselessly. Your fingers ache as blood slowly returns. Stabbing pain replacing numbness. Below you, fields and villages sharpen into focus. Red roofs, narrow roads, church spires, smoke drifts from chimneys. Life continuing indifferent. You turn slowly in the harness. You're alone. The rest of the formation is gone. The rest of the formation is gone. The sky that moments ago was filled with bombers and fighters is suddenly empty, vast, uncaring. And then you see them. Figures running, not soldiers at first, civilians, men in dark coats, women, teenagers, old men with canes. They spill out of houses and barns, pointing upward, shouting. Some wave their arms, pointing upward, shouting. Some wave their arms, some shake fists. You don't understand the words, but you don't need to. You heard the briefings. Captured airmen may be subject to civilian violence. The parachute drops lower. You can hear them now, voices rising, angry, sharp. A stone whizzes past, missing you by meters. Another follows. Someone throws a pitchfork straight up, useless but full of hate. Your boots hit the ground hard. The parachute collapses behind you like a dead thing. You unclip with shaking hands, and then you run. Second Lieutenant William Bill Ashcroft, navigator, 8th Air Force, sprints across the field with his parachute half dragging behind him. His ankle screams in protest, twisted on landing, but adrenaline carries him forward. A gunshot cracks. Dirt jumps near his feet. He stumbles, falls, scrambles back up. A group of men closes in from the left. One of them has a shovel, another grips a length of iron pipe. Their faces are red, anger, grief, something deeper. Ashcroft raises his hands instinctively. I'm done. I'm done. They don't stop. One man lunges, swinging the pipe. It glances off Ashcroft's shoulder, sending lightning through his arm. He cries out, collapsing to his knees. Hands grab him, yank him upright. Someone punches him in the face. He tastes blood instantly, warm, metallic. Someone shouts something about Schweinfurt, about children, about bombs. A woman spits at him. Another stone hits his helmet, ringing like a bell. Then, a sharp-barked command. German. The crowd freezes. A Feldgendarme pushes through, pistol drawn, helmet cocked slightly to one side. He shoves civilians back, striking one man across the chest with the butt of his weapon. Zurück, Zurück. The crowd protests, but they retreat, barely. Ashcroft collapses again, gasping. His face is swelling, his vision blurs. The soldier holds him to his feet, ties his hands behind his back with a cord, and gestures sharply. Gehen, walk. Ashcroft limps forward, every step agony, the crowd trailing behind at a distance like wolves denied a kill. He doesn't know it yet, but this moment may have saved his life. Not every crewman is so lucky. Across Germany, stories spread quietly among POWs, whispered in barracks, muttered in the dark. About airmen beaten to death by mobs, about lynchings, about men shot while trying to escape, officially denied, unofficially tolerated. The Luftwaffe tries, sometimes, to protect captured flyers, but by late 1943, the bombing has reached deep into German cities. Civilians are tired, angry, grieving. And a man falling from the sky in an American uniform becomes something else entirely, not a prisoner, a symbol. Ashcroft is marched through the village. Children stare at him with wide eyes. One boy makes a gun shape with his fingers and pretends to shoot. His friends laugh. The Feldgendarme keeps his pistol visible. They reach a truck, canvas-covered, dented, smelling of oil and wet canvas. 2 more airmen are already inside. One is bleeding heavily from the scalp. The other stares straight ahead, eyes glassy, lips moving silently. Ashcroft climbs in. The truck lurches forward. No one speaks. Hours later, they arrive at a Luftwaffe collection point. A wire enclosure, guards with rifles, a wooden shack. Here, the process begins. Names, ranks, serial numbers, nothing else. Ashcroft repeats his name again and again, clinging to it like a lifeline. The German officer across the table watches him closely. He speaks English with a clipped accent. Name? Second Lieutenant William Ashcroft. Unit? 8 Air Force. Serial. Ashcroft recites it automatically. The officer leans back. Where were you bombing today? Ashcroft meets his eyes. I'm required to give name, rank and serial number only. A pause. The officer smiles thinly. Very well. He stands. You will be moved shortly. Ashcroft doesn't like the way he says it. Night falls. The airmen are herded onto a train boxcars. No seats, straw on the floor, already filthy. The doors slide shut with a final echoing clang. Darkness. The train jolts into motion. Someone sobs quietly. Another man prays. Ashcroft sinks against the wall, ankle throbbing, head pounding. Hours pass, maybe days. Time becomes elastic, meaningless. The train stops occasionally. The doors open briefly. Guards shout. Someone throws in a bucket of water. Another bucket. This one clearly not for drinking. The smell becomes unbearable. Men grow silent. At one stop, the doors slide open wider. An SS officer climbs in. His black uniform absorbs the light. His boots gleam. He surveys the prisoners slowly, deliberately. You are terror flyers, he says in English. Calm, cold. You bomb women, children. No one responds. You should be grateful, he continues, that you are still alive. He steps back out. The doors slam shut. The train moves on. Ashcroft stares at the darkness. For the first time since bailing out, fear settles fully into his chest. Not the sharp fear of flak or fighters, something heavier, something that doesn't pass. Days later, the train stops for good. The doors open. Cold air rushes in. The sign outside reads, Stalag Luft. Barbed wire stretches as far as the eye can see. Watchtowers loom overhead, silhouettes against grey sky. Guards with rifles pace slowly, methodically. Ashcroft climbs down, ankle nearly giving out. He joins the line. Inside the camp, hundreds of men stare back at them, gaunt, unshaven, wrapped in mismatched coats. Some wave weakly, others just watch. A sergeant near the fence calls out, "Which group?" 8 Air Force, someone answers. A murmur ripples through the camp. Someone whistles low. "Schweinfurt?" the sergeant asks. Ashcroft nods. The sergeant closes his eyes briefly. "Jesus." Inside the barracks, Ashcroft nods. The sergeant closes his eyes briefly. "Jesus." Inside the barracks, Ashcroft collapses onto a wooden bunk. The straw mattress smells of mold and sweat. A man on the bunk above him leans down. "What was your ship?" Ashcroft hesitates. "Royal Flush." The man exhales slowly. "Didn't see her come back." Ashcroft closes eyes. He sees the bomber breaking apart. The fire. The sky. He sees the bomber breaking apart. The fire. The sky. He sees the ball turret disappearing. He doesn't know Alan McGee survived the fall, miraculously, crashing through a glass roof and living to become a POW himself. He doesn't know many things yet, but he knows this: the mission is over, the war is not, and survival has taken on a new meaning. Because for B-17 crews, the horror didn't end with capture. It simply changed shape, and somewhere beyond the wire, winter is coming. Life behind the wire, hunger, cold, and the slow erosion of the self. Winter arrives quietly at Stalag Luft, no announcement, no warning. One morning, the ground is hard beneath your boots. Breath hangs thicker in the air. By nightfall, Frost creeps along the inside of the barracks walls like a living thing. Second Lieutenant Bill Ashcroft wakes shivering. The blanket over him is thin, threadbare, more symbolic than useful. His ankle, badly swollen now, throbs in time with his pulse. Somewhere in the barracks a man coughs, deep, wet, the kind of cough that never really goes away. Ashcroft sits up slowly. The barracks smells of unwashed bodies, damp straw, and smoke from the iron stove that never seems to warm anything beyond the space directly in front of it. Frost rims the edges of the wooden boards. You can scrape it off with your fingernail. Men move sluggishly, conserving energy without consciously deciding to. Hunger teaches economy. Someone mutters, "Roll call in 10." A collective groan ripples through the room. Roll call, appel, is the same every day. The prisoners form up outside, regardless of weather. Snow, rain, wind, it doesn't matter. The guards count, recount again. If the numbers don't match, no one moves. Ashcroft stands with his hands shoved into his pockets, shoulders hunched, trying to keep what little heat he has left. Snow crunches underfoot. The watchtowers loom overhead, machine guns pointed inward. A man near the front sways slightly. "Stay awake," someone whispers. "If you collapse, you might not get back up." The German sergeant walks the line slowly, boots crunching deliberately. He stops occasionally, staring at a prisoner's face, lingering just long enough to be uncomfortable. Ashcroft keeps his eyes forward. He has learned that lesson already. Food is the axis around which camp life revolves. Breakfast, a chunk of dark bread. Sometimes moldy, sometimes frozen solid. Coffee, black, bitter, often just hot water with a rumor of beans. Lunch, soup. Soup is a generous word. It's warm water with floating scraps, potato peelings, a sliver of turnip, occasionally something unidentifiable. The men drink it carefully, slowly, savoring the heat more than the taste. Dinner, more soup. Calories are counted unconsciously. Men talk about food constantly. Meals from home, steaks, eggs, milkshakes. A man describes a cheeseburger in such detail that another prisoner has to leave the room, eyes watering. Red Cross parcels are the difference between survival and collapse. When they arrive, the mood of the entire camp changes instantly. Men smile, laugh, hands shake as boxes are opened. Inside, powdered milk, chocolate, cigarettes, spam, cheese, crackers, treasure, spam, cheese, crackers, treasure. Ashcroft trades cigarettes he doesn't smoke for extra food. Others trade for socks, for soap, for razor blades dulled nearly to uselessness. A black market flourishes quietly, invisibly, because hunger makes entrepreneurs of everyone. Time stretches, days blur, weeks pass marked only by rumors. The Russians are pushing west. The Allies landed in Italy. I heard Berlin was hit again last night. No one knows what's true. Radios are forbidden, but pieces are smuggled in, assembled secretly. At night, men huddle around a hidden receiver, volume barely above a whisper. When it works, it feels like a miracle. When it doesn't, despair settles back in. Ashcroft listens once as a BBC broadcast crackles through the static. Heavy losses over Germany today. He doesn't hear the rest. He doesn't want to. Night is the worst. In the dark, the mind has room to roam. Ashcroft lies awake, staring at the underside of the bunk above him. He thinks about the mission, about the moment Royal Flush fell behind, about the men who didn't make it out. He sees Alan Margie falling. Again. And again. He wonders who else survived, who didn't, whether his co-pilot died instantly or bled out alone at altitude. Guilt creeps in quietly, without invitation. Why me? No one says it out loud, but everyone thinks it. The camp has its own hierarchy. Senior officers maintain order. Committees are formed. Duties assigned. Classes organized. Math, history, even foreign languages. Anything to keep minds occupied. Ashcroft attends a navigation class taught by a former airline pilot. They draw imaginary courses on scraps of paper, using pencils worn down to nubs. For an hour, he forgets where he is. For an hour, he's back in the air, but safely, cleanly, without flak. Then the class ends. Reality returns. Not all guards are the same. Some are indifferent. Older men, wounded veterans, they do their duty and no more. Others enjoy it. One guard, nicknamed the Butcher by the prisoners, takes particular pleasure in punishment. Extra roll calls, confiscating parcels, beatings for imagined infractions. One afternoon, he drags a downed airman out of line. Escape tools, he claims, holding up a bent spoon. The man protests weakly. The Butcher strikes him across the face with a rifle butt. The crack echoes across the compound. No one moves. Looking away doesn't help. Looking doesn't help either. Ashcroft stares at the ground, jaw clenched, fists shaking in his pockets. He feels smaller than he ever has. Winter deepens. Snow piles against the barracks walls. The stove fuel runs low. Men sleep fully clothed, huddled together for warmth. Frostbite claims fingers, toes, ears. Earsness spreads, dysentery, pneumonia, tuberculosis. The camp doctors what he can with almost nothing. Aspirin is rationed like gold. Bandages are washed and reused until they fall apart. A man in the next barracks dies one night, quietly. By morning his bunk is empty. Someone has taken his blanket. No one judges. Occasionally new prisoners arrive, fresh faces, cleaner uniforms, eyes still sharp with recent terror. They bring news, fragmented, emotional. Flak's worse than ever. Fighters are coming head-on now. They're losing whole groups. Ashcroft listens, heart sinking. The war in the air hasn't eased. It's getting deadlier. One evening a rumor sweeps the camp, an escape attempt, not just a few men slipping out, something bigger. The guards are tense, patrols increase. Searchlights sweep the compound at night. Ashcroft hears whispered conversations, maps drawn on cigarette paper. Civilian clothes sewn from blankets, compasses made from razor blades and magnets. The idea terrifies him and thrills him. Escape is forbidden, punished severely, often fatally. But the thought of doing nothing, of waiting, feels worse. One night, the man from the bunk above leans down. "You in?" Ashcroft hesitates. His ankle still aches. He's lost weight. He's weaker than he's ever been, but the wire feels closer every day. The walls press inward. "I don't know," he whispers. The man nods. "Think fast." Before Ashcroft can decide, the camp explodes into chaos. Searchlights blaze on, sirens wail, guards shout orders in rapid German. Men are dragged from bunks, shoved outside into the snow. Appel in the middle of the night. Hours pass as guards count, recount, count again. Finally, the announcement comes. Several prisoners are missing. A murmur ripples through the ranks. The commandant's voice cuts through it. "You will stand here until they are found." The snow falls harder. Ashcroft's legs tremble. His teeth chatter uncontrollably. Somewhere out there, men are running, free, or trying to be. The hours stretch on, and Ashcroft realizes something with sudden, chilling clarity. The war has followed them here. And the next test of survival won't come from flak or fighters. It will come from choice. The breaking point, escapes, retaliation, and the weight of waiting dawn crawls over Stalag Luft like a reluctant witness. The men are still standing in formation, boots numb, legs trembling. Shoulders sagging under the weight of hours without movement. Snow clings to coats and caps. Ice rims eyelashes. No one speaks anymore. Talking wastes energy. Ashcroft's ankle burns, then goes strangely numb. That scares him more than the pain. A guard walks the line, face unreadable. Another consults a clipboard, whispering urgently. Somewhere near the commandant's office, a telephone rings. It keeps ringing. Finally, the order comes. Dismissed. The word barely registers. Men shuffle back toward the barracks, moving like old men, leaning on one another. Inside, the stove is cold. Someone tries to light it, hands shaking too badly to strike the match. Ashcroft collapses onto his bunk. Only then does the full meaning of the night settle in. Men escaped, and the camp paid for it. The punishment doesn't come immediately. It never does. The Germans understand anticipation. They let it ferment. Days pass. Roll calls continue. Food remains the same. Guards are tighter, quieter, more alert. The watchtowers feel closer. Rifles tracking every movement. Whispers spread. 2 got caught. 1 made it to a train line. Heard shots last night. No one knows what's true. Ashcroft watches the wire more than he used to. He notices details now. The way certain guards pause longer at specific sections. How footprints vanish after snowfall. How shadows move at night. Escape feels possible. And impossible. Then the announcement comes. All prisoners assemble. The commandant stands on a wooden platform, greatcoat buttoned high, breath fogging the air. His face is pale, expression carefully controlled. Several prisoners attempted to escape, he says in English. This is forbidden. No one reacts. They have endangered the camp. Still nothing. For this, there will be consequences. 2 guards drag a man forward. Ashcroft recognizes him immediately. Flight Lieutenant Thomas Reed, RAF, a quiet man, always polite, always shared his parcels. Reed's face is bruised, one eye nearly swollen shut. His hands are bound. The commandant continues. This man assisted the escape. Reed opens his mouth. A guard strikes him across the stomach, hard. Reed doubles over, gasping. Ashcroft's fists clench. The commandant raises a hand. For every escape attempt, privileges will be removed. He pauses. Red Cross parcels are suspended. A low sound ripples through the crowd, not a cry, not a shout, something closer to a collective exhale of despair. Food, medicine, cigarettes, soap, gone. Reed is dragged away. Ashcroft doesn't see him again. The effect is immediate. Within days, men weaken visibly. Weight drops, faces hollow, eyes sink deeper into sockets. Minor illnesses become serious. Serious ones become deadly. The soup gets thinner, the bread smaller. Ashcroft's thoughts narrow. He thinks about food constantly, dreams about it, wakes angry at himself for dreaming. Arguments break out over nothing. A man steals a crust from another's bunk. He's beaten, not by guards, but by fellow prisoners desperate to enforce some semblance of order. Guilt follows, shame, then justification. Survival erodes principles quietly. Winter drags on. Ashcroft marks time by the condition of his ankle. It never healed properly. The camp doctor says it may never be the same. You're lucky to walk, he adds gently. Lucky. Ashcroft nods. At night he listens to the wind rattle the barracks walls and wonders how much longer this can last. Weeks, months, years, the war outside feels distant now, abstract. The wire is real. One evening, after lights out, the man from the bunk above whispers again. They're planning another. Ashcroft doesn't respond immediately. They won't stop, the man continues. Too many of us, too much time. Ashcroft exhales slowly. What happened to Reed? A pause. Shot, the man says quietly, trying to run. Ashcroft closes his eyes. The idea of escape had once felt like hope. Now it feels like a debt, one someone else always pays. I can't, Ashcroft whispers. The man nods, even though Ashcroft can't see it. Fair. Silence returns. But sleep does not. Spring arrives eventually, timid and uncertain. Snow melts into mud. The camp becomes a swamp of brown sludge that clings to boots and trousers. The smell changes, less cold, more rot. With spring comes air raids. Sirens wail in the distance, sometimes close, sometimes far. The prisoners are ordered into trenches or left standing outside while guards take cover. Bombs fall. The ground shakes. Ashcroft watches German guards flinch, eyes darting skyward. For the first time, he sees fear in them. American bombers pass overhead, distant, high, unreachable. Ashcroft feels a surge of conflicting emotions. Pride, anger, grief. Those men up there are facing the same sky he did. The same flak, the same flak, the same fighters, and some of them will end up here. New prisoners arrive again. They look younger now, fewer smiles. Their stories are worse. Flak boxes everywhere. Fighters firing rockets now. We lost half the group. Ashcroft listens, heart heavy. The cost is staggering, and it's still not enough. One afternoon, an older POW named Harris sits beside Ashcroft outside the barracks. "You know," Harris says, staring at the wire, "they call it a fortress." Ashcroft nods. "Never felt like one." Harris smiles thinly. Forts are meant to keep people safe. They sit in silence. Then, one night, the radio crackles again. Someone has managed to tune it. The voice is faint, distorted, but unmistakable. Allied forces have landed in Normandy. For a moment, no one reacts. Then realization hits. Men grip each other's arms. Laughter breaks out, fragile, disbelieving. Some cry openly. Others just stare, mouths open. Ashcroft feels something stir inside his chest. Hope. Real hope. Not rumor. Not wishful thinking. This is real. The guards don't know yet, but they will. The days that follow are tense. Guards are harsher. Nervous, patrols increase. Orders are barked more sharply. The prisoners sense a shift. The war is moving, and movement means danger. Weeks later, the camp is ordered to prepare for evacuation. The front is getting closer. "Pack what you can carry," the commandant announces. "You will march." March. Ashcroft looks down at his ankle, at his thin coat, at his hollow reflection in a cracked mirror. Marching hundreds of miles on starvation rations, in enemy territory, with guards who are afraid. This might be worse than staying. As the prisoners line up, Ashcroft feels the familiar tightening in his chest. Another test, another unknown. And he understands now, with chilling clarity, for B-17 crews, survival wasn't a single moment of bravery in the sky. It was 1,000 small battles afterward. And the hardest one may still be ahead, the death march, collapse, liberation, and the ghosts that never leave the order comes before dawn. A whistle, shouting, boots striking frozen ground. Rouse! Rouse! Ashcroft drags himself upright, joints stiff, ankles screaming in protest. He pulls on everything he owns, which isn't much: a thin coat, a scarf traded weeks ago for half a chocolate bar, boots worn smooth at the soles. Outside, the camp is already alive with movement. Columns of prisoners form slowly, unevenly. Men lean on each other. Some carry small bundles tied with string. Others carry small bundles tied with string. Others carry nothing at all, having learned the hard way that anything extra becomes unbearable after the first mile. Guards pace alongside, rifles slung, expressions tight. They look afraid now. That frightens Ashcroft more than anger ever did. The gates open. For the first time in months, Ashcroft steps beyond the wire. Freedom? No. Just another kind of confinement. The column starts moving. Boots crunch over gravel. The sound stretches down the road, a slow, uneven rhythm. Men stumble almost immediately. A guard shouts. The pace increases. Ashcroft focuses on the back of the man in front of him. Step, step, don't fall. Fields slide past. Villages, burned out farmhouses. The war has chewed this land down to the bone. Civilians watch from doorways, faces blank, hollow. Some look away. Some stare with open hatred. A woman throws a stone. It misses. No one reacts. By the first night, men are already dropping. Not dead, not yet, but broken. A man collapses into the ditch, legs refusing to work. Guards drag him back to his feet, shove him forward. He falls again. A rifle cracks. The sound is flat, final. The column doesn't stop. No one turns around. Ashcroft keeps walking, heart pounding, throat tight. The lesson is clear. Keep moving. They march for days. Food is almost non-existent. Occasionally a guard throws a loaf toward the column. Men scramble for it like animals, fighting, biting, desperate. Ashcroft once manages to grab a crust, stuffs it into his mouth without chewing, barely tasting it. Water comes from ditches, from melting snow, from anywhere it can be found. Men hallucinate. One prisoner insists he sees a diner ahead, neon lights, bacon frying. He breaks formation, smiling, walking toward nothing. A guard shouts. The man doesn't stop. Another shot, another body left behind. Ashcroft's world narrows to pain and movement. His ankle swells grotesquely. Each step feels like stepping on broken glass. He bites the inside of his cheek until he tastes blood, using the pain to stay present. At night, they sleep in barns, in open fields, sometimes standing because there's no room to lie down. Men cling together for warmth. Those who can't keep warm don't wake up. In the mornings, the guards kick bodies aside. The column reforms, moves on, weeks blur together. Then, one morning, something feels different. The guards are agitated, voices raised. Arguments break out among them. The distant thunder of artillery rolls across the horizon, closer than ever before. American artillery. Ashcroft feels it in his chest before he fully believes it. Planes roar overhead, not bombers this time, fighters. Low, fast, guards shout, forcing the prisoners into a ditch. Rifles point everywhere at once. The planes scream past, strafing a road junction ahead. Smoke rises. A vehicle burns. The guards hesitate, then run. They don't fire. They don't look back. They just run. For a moment, no one moves. Silence hangs heavy, unreal. Then someone whispers, "Are they gone?" A man stands slowly, uncertain. No shot comes. Another stands, then another. Ashcroft pushes himself upright, legs shaking violently. He scans the road. No guards, no rifles, no orders, just prisoners, free. Some laugh, some cry, some collapse where they stand, bodies finally giving up now that they're allowed to. Ashcroft sits heavily in the ditch, head in his hands. He feels nothing at first, then everything at once. Relief, Greesh. He thinks of Royal Flush, of Alan Maggie, of Reed, of the men left along the road, unnamed, unburied. American troops arrive hours later. Real soldiers, clean uniforms, faces tight with shock as they take in the sight. One of them kneels in front of Ashcroft. "You're safe now," he says gently. Ashcroft nods, but he doesn't feel safe. Not yet. The hospital smells different. Clean, sharp, like antiseptic and soap. Ashcroft lies in a white bed, staring at a white ceiling. Doctors talk around him. His ankle is examined. Shaken heads. Words like permanent damage drift past. He doesn't care. At night, he dreams of engines, of flak bursting black against blue sky, of falling. He wakes drenched in sweat, heart racing, hands clawing at blankets that feel suddenly like parachute silk. Other men scream in their sleep. No one laughs at that. The war ends. Celebrations erupt. Headlines scream victory. Bands play. Crowds cheer. Ashcroft stands in the street once, watching strangers embrace. He feels detached, like he's watching through glass. People thank him for his service. He nods. He never corrects them. Years later, someone asks him what it was like to fly a B-17. Ashcroft pauses. He thinks about the cold, the noise, the fear, the way the sky looked when everything went wrong. He thinks about the camps, the hunger, the marches, the men who didn't come home. "It was loud," he finally says. The person laughs politely, waiting for more. Ashcroft doesn't give it. Because some things don't fit into stories. Because the flying fortress wasn't a fortress at all. It was a test of endurance, of humanity, of how much a person could lose and still keep walking. And for the men who climbed into those aluminum coffins day after day, knowing the odds, the real horror wasn't dying. It was surviving.